See, the greatest grace of Guru is to point out the divinity that is ever present within us that we have been missing all along. We are looking for happiness, we are looking for peace. Therefore, we are actually, everyone is looking for the truth for God in their own way. Any search for happiness or peace is nothing but search for God. And either people get caught in material pleasures and think there is happiness there, but then sooner or later they get frustrated because no matter how many material pleasures one can experience, it seems to not provide any true satisfaction. In fact, it has a diminishing return because the more we take anything materially, whether it's even something as simple as good food, or whether it's travel, or whether it's any experience, watching something, reading something, it has diminishing return. So we notice that we cannot do it beyond a certain point, and it only leaves us dissatisfied if we keep looking for it. So then people turn towards philosophy, different causes, but then all causes are all temporary. Then philosophies have different strands to it. People come up with various philosophies. Then there is the religious search looking for God, which is what it is all boils down to, is the looking for truth. But what we miss all along is the very ground from which we are looking for truth is the truth of God. Because everything that is here is existing only due to the presence of the one underlying truth. So when we look for truth, when we look for what is eternally true, we, instead of looking within, we look for some idea, some concept of God, and we argue over whether it's got name or nameless, form or formless, all of that. But if we look within and ask who is looking, because if there is truth, if there is God, then that God has to be the source of the looker too. So it's very obvious, but we miss it. We are looking without, that is, looking outside, without questioning the very one, the very entity looking for it. Who is looking for it is the primary question which we don't focus on. We look outside through books and through knowledge and through pilgrimages and through engaging in charities or engaging in sacrifices. So many religious activities we engage in, which are all looking outside without going to the simple but direct question of who is looking for God. Because if there be God, he has to be the source of the one looking as well. And if we realize the simple truth, then we can turn the attention within. Because if there is God, he has to be found within. It is not that God is outside and I am separate from God and I'm going to find God, because then the one finding God is somehow not part of God, and therefore such a God cannot be almighty. So, the dualism that is found in many philosophies does not give, by the very dualism, the omnipotent nature of God. It takes away from God. One wants to retain one's separate sense of existence and then find God. But the very simple pointer of non duality or self inquiry is, how can you exist separate from God in order to find God separate from you? If there is God, He has to be the ground of everything, and that includes you and me. So, therefore, if that is clear, then the most direct way to find God is within us, because everything else comes after our existence. All perceptions happen because there is the one who is perceiving. All thoughts happen because there is the one who is thinking. All actions happen because the one who is doing. If we look within as to who is the perceiver, who is the doer, then we turn attention towards the self. So this is what is the expression in Ullathu Naarpadu 2, where it says, Madiyai Ulle Madaki, as was asked yesterday. We turn the attention within. And when we turn the attention within, then the true inquiry begins. And then we recognize that all the perceptions, all the thoughts, all the activities are all happening, first of all, spontaneously. There is the spontaneous movement of energy that makes all these activities happen. And beneath that is the ground of awareness in which everything is cognized. So then we come upon that very sense of awareness, which is our own existence. So when we recognize that the very sense of existence that I am is the basis upon which all perceptions happen, all actions happen, all thoughts, everything happen. There is no perception or thought or action if there is no being underlying all these perceptions and thoughts. And the only being I am aware of is the presence within. One can never experience the world through anyone else's eyes. Whatever we perceive is perceived from our sense of existence. Then, if we look within, then we find out that all the various aspects of existence are all again coming and going, whether it's the body, whether it's the mind, whether it's our own intelligence, all of that is again within the purview of perception and within the purview of time. So when I look within, I can easily recognize that the body is changing and it is also perceived. The mind is perceived, the intellect is perceived, and all of this is happening within the field of awareness, which is pure sense of existence. So I am, and therefore I perceive the body, I perceive the mind, I perceive the intelligence, everything that there is. There is an awareness of everything. So not only do things outside appear, whether it be other people, things, all of that, but even one's own body, mind, intelligence, all of that only appears within the field of awareness, and it's also constantly changing. So if we recognize this, then we come upon that which is not changing, which is the only thing that is ever present, upon which everything comes and goes. And that is the pure sense of existence as I am. So if we simply catch that, that is to simply be. So that is why he says, just do not meditate, just be. Because to meditate is again to have some object of meditation, which is what meditation normally implies. But true meditation, which is not meditation in the traditional sense at all, is to just be. So if we negate in this way everything rising and falling on its own spontaneously as not essentially the being, because anything that comes and goes is not only impermanent, but it is perceived rather. I am aware of the body going through changes. I'm aware of the changes in the mind. I'm aware of the changes in the prana, in the intellect, all of that. And that sense of awareness, which is the very presence that is aware, is the only unchanging experience I have. So to recognize and to hold on to that is pure meditation, which is to just be. So that is why we don't have to then do anything, but it is only an undoing. We have to stop identifying with the body, with the mind, with thoughts, with the intellect, and with all the various other objects. And if we do that, if we just rather undo, stop identifying, and find out what remains. If we just literally, that is why in one expression it is said, it is the highest state of laziness in a very interesting way, because we don't have to literally do anything to abide as who we are. Everything else requires some doing. But the easiest and the most direct, ever present reality is our sense of existence. We are is unquestionable. Everything else can be questioned because they are keeping on changing constantly. No thought is permanent, no physical as quality, healthy or not, strong or weak. All of this is questionable. One's intellect is questionable. The only thing that's not questionable is that we are. So it is so simple, and yet we let go of that and we add on to that various things and identify with it. So to completely strip down to the very essential sense of who we are is true meditation. So if we sit silently and just whatever comes up, if we do not engage with it, if we see that as a passing cloud, and rest in the being. We don't have to do anything to rest in the being because being is always shining forth. So it is literally a state of non doing and simply being. And that beingness is the lap of God. So when we surrender, when we speak of surrender to God, the most direct and easiest and ever available way to surrender is to surrender to our own sense of being. The moment we add anything to our being and hold on to it, we are moving away from the lap of God. When we say I am anything, when we add anything to I am and we hold on to that identity, we are restricting the existence into something very fragmentary, very small, very partial. So when we do not do that, that's why it's only undoing. We don't have to do anything. We just have to stop doing that. And that is meditation. Meditation is therefore just letting go, not adding anything, not learning any new technique, not coming up with any new method. It is literally letting go of everything. Emptying oneself is meditation in the highest sense, and that's what is pointed to by Ramana Maharishi. That is what is pointed to by all the great sages. So, if we recognize, therefore, that my sense of existence is ever shining forth and ever available, if I literally do nothing, even for a moment, and many people get in touch with this even in the middle of the day, on a busy day, when you take a moment and do not engage with anything, and just there is a moment of complete silence, stillness. There is no engagement with anything, there is no anxiety about anything, and there is immense peace there. That it is full, it is complete, it is who we are. But we immediately jump onto some identity and we get identified with it, and then there is anxiety, there is desire, there is fear, all of that. So when we recognize that our ground of being is ever full, then of course activities can happen. We can engage in activities. The body and mind can in fact do what it is meant to do. But there is a sense of detachment within, because no matter what activity is accomplished, it is not going to add anything to the pure being. And no matter what activity doesn't get accomplished, it's not going to detract anything, take away anything from our sense of being. So I am is complete. Everything else is partial. So if we just recognize this simple truth that my very existence is full, it's aware, it's complete. It is the spark of Sat Chit Ananda. That is why Sat is that it exists, Chit is it's aware, and Ananda means it's full and complete and therefore in peace. And if we recognize this and rest in it, that is meditation. And then even while we engage in activities, there is the base note of our existence that's ever present. So Ramana Maharishi gives a beautiful example of how in music there are many notes that go high and low, but there is the base Shruti, that's always at an even keel. It doesn't change its pitch or anything. Similarly, our sense of existence is the bass note, and that remains ever still, ever the same. And if we get in touch with it and we recognize that that is our ground of being, then even while activities are going on, the body, the mind, the intellect are engaged, there is the fullness of being underlying all of that. And the more we recognize it consciously, the more we are not caught in the highs and lows of activities. So, normally, when we get caught in the highs and lows of activities, that is when we have the alternating experience of happiness and sadness, pleasure and pain, and so on. And when we see that it is all frivolous, so that is the direct pointer. True maturity, true wisdom is to see that all of that is silly, frivolous, because no identity is permanent and there is never any salvation in any identity. People get identified with the cause of a nation, with religion, with or other causes. Every cause is partial, but our sense of being is full. So when we recognize how every cause is limited, partial, and the same is true with attachment to family, attachment to career, attachment to wealth, everything is partial, but the sense of being is full. So if we recognize that we have the fullest, purest, unchanging treasure within us, and we are looking for scraps of breadcrumbs through various activities. That is what we are doing. So that is what the true guru points to, is you are already the repository of true happiness and peace, and you are forgetting it and looking for it outside. So when we recognize this, then the frivolous nature of all partial identities is seen, and thereby they lose their hold, and then life becomes sublime because we can abide with a sense of seriousness, which is to say maturity, shraddha, nishtha. All of that is only to, nishtha means abidance, shraddha means firm, earnest, sincere attitude. So with shraddha and nishtha, we can just joyfully abide. It's not at the same time something very grave. It is the most joyful thing because it's ever present. It is resting in the silence of our own heart. And there is a great sense of uh, relief we can feel if we actually touch it, that I don't have to do anything. I don't have to even meditate. I don't have to realize I am already that pure essence. I'm just wrongly attached to ideas and looking for it. So every time wrong identification, wrong attachment comes, we simply have to turn the attention back to the ground of existence, which is free of all of this. Because again, without the ground of existence, no perception can happen, no identity can even happen. So whatever we tend to believe in as our identity, that itself happens because we exist. So that's why he says, don't meditate, you are. So when we recognize that pointer that we are, It is so simple and there is such peace in it, and that when it's realized, then all activities can be added to that without touching it. Then one can engage in responsibilities, family or work or others, while also not investing any sense of identity in it. It just happens as a response to the situation that rises each moment, while our sense of being is not affected by it. It remains full and complete. That is the core and direct pointer of the grace of Bhagavan. So, self inquiry is essentially self abidance, because it's not inquiring in the sense of a scientific inquiry where we use the mind to analyze and research. That is how the word inquiry is used normally. But here, self inquiry is to simply abide as who we are. The only inquiry first is, as we saw, negating the false. That is the only inquiry needed. So, Atma Vichara becomes Atma Nishtha. Nishtha means abidance. So, once Atma Vichara negates the false, then Atma Nishtha is to abide as the being. So that's why the famous verse that Ramana Maharshi wrote, Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram Aham Aham Iti Sakshad Atma Rupena Bhati Hridivisha Manasa Swam Chinvata Machatava Pavana Chalana Rodhat Atma Nishto Bhavatvam. Atma Nishto Bhavatvam means abide as who you are. Atma is a very simple word. It's not something, again, fancy to philosophize around. The mind wants to complicate everything. Atma means existence. That's it. Astitvam, we can say. In Sanskrit, there is a word asti, means it is. And that sense of pure existence is Atma. That Atma is Brahman. That is the core pointer. The pure being, the eternal infinite being Brahman, shines forth as Atman, that is the pure sense of existence as I am. So when we therefore recognize this and abide as this pure sense of existence, then Atma Vichara leads to Atma Nishtha. Because Atma Vichara is, Atma is taken to be the body or the mind, and so to negate them and thereby negate all false identities is Atma Vichara. Then that results in Atma Nishtha, which is to abide as our true being. So that's the simple and direct pointer of satsang in the real sense as graced by especially the revelation of Ramana Maharshi, because it makes it so easy and direct. It's hinted in the Upanishads and all the great scriptures before, but the unique grace of Sri Ramana Maharshi is to make it so directly, easily available, especially in the modern era when the mind wants to be convinced logically and so on. All that is satisfied because there is no blind faith necessary. We just have to engage logically and thereby recognize our true being. And that true being is what we call as God. So we don't have to then believe in any concept of God. We don't have to even call him God. It's just an English word actually, so it doesn't matter. The word in Sanskrit is more precise. It's always, it says many words are there. When we say Bhagavan, that word just recognizes the one who holds everything. All opulences are held by he who is called Bhagavan. And what holds all opulences is the sense of existence. Therefore, pure being is Bhagavan. And Ishvara is another word which literally means the one who maintains the order of the universe. So again, the words have very beautiful connotation. So the intelligence that maintains the order of the universe is Ishvara. And so we can see that in our own body, Ishvara functioning, because it is not some entity out there, but Ishvara is the very intelligence that functions, that by which the body does what it does. The senses perceive, how the eyes work, the ears work, how the digestion works. Every single thing is Ishvara. So as a pointer, Krishna says in the Gita, I am the one digesting your food. He says, Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha Pranapana Samayuktam Pachamyannam Chaturvidam. He says, I abide in your stomach as the fire of digestion and digest your food. So that is Ishvara. So he is not some imaginary entity. What we call as Ishvara is that which makes everything happen in the manifest existence, such as digestion pointed to by Krishna. It's an indication that everything in the body happens by this order. And that order which makes everything happen rests on the pure sense of existence. That pure sense of existence is the ground of our being, and everything that rises out of that is the spontaneous expression of that sense of existence. So everything happens spontaneously, and our own existence is spontaneous. And when we recognize and rest in it, then we are free. That's the pointer of self-inquiry, surrender. All of these are just different terms to point out to the same thing. So true bhakti is to surrender to our own sense of existence. True jnana is to abide as our own sense of existence. True dhyana is to again be in this nishtha, in this abidance. True yajna, true sacrifice is to let go of false identities, renounce them. So all the various words used are only to point to one simple thing, which is that we are as we are. And that pure existence is without any attributes, full, complete, and ever at peace. And everything that rises on top of it is also perfect in its own way, coming and going by the order of the intelligence which is Ishvara.